is on the role of the manager as a coach, which is a new way of looking at the manager's role. In the past, the managers used to be more like supervising people working in factories and making sure they are following the right process, the right safety techniques, and that they are actually working and not chit-chatting. This has changed over the years, where in managing knowledge workers or scientists or people who do quality or write reports, it's a different way of managing, where we encourage people, we support them, we inspire them to rise to their full potential. And that's really the heart of the topic today. We have few clear elements that we will cover, and then we have some case studies and an open discussion. Anybody can ask a question, whether unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat. So we'll quickly talk about the manager's role versus the coach's role, and then how can the manager manage, but also use a coach approach to management. We'll talk about a model that I love and I use all the time in my coaching practice. We call it the GROW model. And then a couple of case studies that I'll share with you on how to use the coach approach to motivate your employees. I tend to use the term management and leadership interchangeably. I know there are lots of research out there and books and articles that differentiate between the manager and the leader. I don't necessarily like to do that. That's not my stance. I believe it's a hybrid. Nowadays, you cannot say, okay, now I'm just managing, now I'm just leading, and now I'm also going to add the coach approach to management or leadership. So I look at it as a hybrid or a blended approach to guiding and leading teams to rise to their full potential, achieve their goals, and be successful at the end of the day. So that definition from Margaret Whitley made good sense to me, that leadership is a series of behaviors rather than a role for heroes. And what did managers do traditionally? And many of us have had managers that we liked and others that we didn't. I'll encourage you to take a few seconds to think of some manager that you met in your life that you really did not like, and how did they come across? What made you not like them? And then think of the manager that you admired and you wanted to one day be like them. And what did they exhibit? How did they talk to you? How did they present themselves and hold themselves in meetings and conferences and in dealing one-on-one with the staff? So the traditional manager role, if you open any management book or in Management 101 in school, it's about command and control. You know, you command people to do certain things, you control that they are doing the right thing, they are actually working. The 8 hours they are the time they are punching in, punching out, and they are actually doing the work. Also, these type of managers tend to think they know it all and always tend to solve the problem the way they think is the right way. So they don't encourage staff participation, don't ask for people's input, to use their creativity to come up with a good solution. They tend to do all the organization of the work themselves, assign out assignments, you do this, and then direct people, that's your job today, do X, Y, and Z. They will give feedback, usually in, very harsh or brash way, with not in a give and take approach. And they usually do the annual review, which in many cases usually is a shock, like, oh, I didn't expect to get this kind of review, and people get upset. That's the traditional. I'm sure there were, a variation of that, but that's at a high level how traditional management roles tend to focus on. From a coach approach, the coaching technique we bring, and that was part of what I learned in the coaching program I was in and what all coaches tend to bring to their practice and impart into leadership, to also use that, because it is based on how adults learn and engage, which is using active listening. And I will describe as we progress what is active listening and the different ways to show that you are actually listening. And then curiosity, having this open mind to understand why somebody is behaving in a certain way or why they said a certain word, and asking these open-ended questions and probing questions to learn more. Also reflecting. So all of us have had experiences through life. So it's reflecting on what lessons did we learn from a prior experience and giving effective feedback. Being supportive and wanting to help people, and getting the feedback from them and giving. So it's interactive. We call it relational, meaning you get feedback and you also give feedback with the purpose of fostering steady growth and moving forward. So it's motivating and inspiring high performance. It's goal focused, like we always identify what is the goal, why are we doing X, Y, or Z, or where do we want to be in 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. That's the goal focused approach. And then asset based. And asset based means the strength, knowing the strength of each person and helping them leverage that strength to get better in what they do. And the future orientation. So where we are, we take stock of where we are today, and then how can we make it better in the future. Anyone wants to add to these descriptions? Hala, Omar, anything you want to add?
I would actually agree with what you just said. The key thing is here that there is a lack of actually managers or people who use these approaches. And I think I've encountered at least most of them within my professional experience.
Yes.
To two managers that you said look for two, or at least look for some that you admired, I would say both. One of the key factors is that they put a lot of trust in my abilities.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they did not question, they did not doubt that I could deliver. They just said deliver, and after delivery, they would impart their feedback on how successful or how well it was done versus their expectation.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. You're spot on.
Yeah, I can also add a little image here. As I am based in Belgium, in Europe, people are fond of football. So football matches are the regular topic of the day, and people are watching all competitions. Yesterday was a big match as well, and I even watched it myself. And a good image to use in the manager as coach is the football's team coach. He will never step in the field. He is not allowed to step in the field. He cannot do the job of any of the players. He has to stand back and watch what is happening and give suggestions, give ideas, gives instructions, and place the people where they are best skilled, and also train them accordingly. If you will play forward or back or whatever, you get different type of training. He also has to motivate them in the break. We see the coach talking to the team and motivating them to even better perform, but he will never step in. He's not allowed to step in the field and do the job of one of the players. And this is something that managers need to keep in mind, especially frontline managers who were usually the best in doing a certain job, and this is how they got promoted to be managers. But once they are managers, they have to stop doing the frontline job anymore.
That's very, very nicely said, very well said, spot on. I get this a lot. I have some engineers, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, software engineers who get promoted and now they are leading the team. And their manager's feedback, I get to see their manager's feedback, is stop doing the work and lead the team to think and do the work. It's easier for them. They know how to do it. They are very good at it. And we always lean into the things we are good at, but it doesn't help them. They are not going to grow in their managerial role. They will not get to the next level, and they will not also train the team to come with the next star player, you know. And that's a very big challenge, especially on the engineering side. I see it a lot with engineers, but thank you for sharing. That is very well said. So the second quote I want to share with you, because we're getting into the coach approach here. So coaching is much more than asking good questions. It's very popular that coaches will just hammer you with questions. And I know I myself sometimes don't like all these questions. I don't like to receive tons of questions, and I don't like to come across as giving, you know, and engaging in just questions. So when Marsha Reynolds, who is actually one of the senior coaches in the field, and she was the president of the International Coach Federation, wrote that, it resonated with me. So it's really looking, questions are very important. They are a great tool, but what other tools are available for us? And that's what we will focus on. The GROW model, that's a classic model. There are variations of it. It's not the only model, but it really captures it all. I like that it's oriented around growth, because we all want to grow and see ourselves moving forward, but also it stands for what we want to accomplish in our lives. So having a clear goal, knowing what we want. And I know this is difficult for some, and we will talk about ways in the future of finding and identifying your goal in a clear and precise way. Knowing the current reality, so current state, we call it in other programs. So what is the current state, and how would you know? So you know it from feedback, you know, feedback you get from your manager, feedback you get from your peers. You know it from receiving these inputs into your current, and you know it from you personally assessing yourself towards your aspirations, you know, like where you want to be in the future. And then what are the opportunities available to you? You know, are you, do you want to go back to school? Is the field of study that you're interested in available? Are you going to go to a certification? Do you want to learn new skills? So what are the opportunities that best meet your needs, identifying them, collecting information, asking questions from those who have took that path and see how it worked for them. And once you have this clarity, you then work on the way forward, which in other words, I call it the roadmap. And sometimes I go even deeper, and many of you may relate to that. Like you do a project plan for your life in a way, you know, like these are the things I want to do. That's how I'm going to do them. That's the timeline. These are the people around me who can help me, and go into that detail of mapping out the way forward. In addition to that, that is not enough. All these are very good things, but are not enough. The willpower, you know, like really accessing yourself, your resources, your ability to make decisions, your ability to be disciplined. Sometimes we have to sacrifice to reach our goal. Like you will not be able to go out every weekend and play because you need to do some extra work. So it's bringing in this inner powers and grit that you probably heard about, the book that talks about grit, to help us move forward and implement these plans. So in practice, using the GROW model, by far, I use it all the time in my coaching practice. It's a go-to. I teach it to all the managers who are in my clients. So you need to define the goal. I mean, if you don't have a goal, it's like, you know, driving your car and not knowing where you're going to go. So there is no way to compromise on that. It might take a little bit of effort, but you need to define a goal in a smart way. So be specific, you know, be time bound, and be clear, having clarity on it. Use the GROW model as a guide. I don't like feeling like rigid or sticking, in a very unproductive way of thinking. So use the model as a guide, but if you need to add to it, you need to deviate, that is acceptable as well. I like to recommend using it as a template and sharing it, like make every staff member create a template for themselves, put the GROW model as, data entry points, and then decide what is the content that you're filling in, write that plan, write the dates, write where you're going to go for information, and bring this template or this report, I would say, to every meeting. So if you're meeting once a month, have it as a handy tool to assess your progress, with the flexibility in mind and the ability and willingness to adjust as you move forward. What else can a manager as a coach use to help them bring the coach approach to their management practice every day? So Spark is a nice framework to help with asking questions that have a variation in it, not just, one question, but have more clarifying questions. We start with a short question. I was in a group that focused on asking a 3-word question. And it was very hard to come up with 3 words questions, but it is intended to open up the mind for people to think, like, tell me more, or how can I help? That's 4, not 3, but that's kind of the idea. You want to ask your people, how can I help? Let them tell you how they want you to help them. Personalize the question, like ask what's on your mind, what are you thinking about today? You can be agnostic also, like what's the real problem here? What does it mean to you if, a word was said or a direction was set? You want people to talk more about it. So what does it mean to you? And then showing a keen attitude to learn more. So that's the tell me more. And it is advised to dig deeper because people do not usually say the real thing the first time. So tell me more, and what else? What else is on your mind? What else you'd like to share? And here I'd like to say, watch your tone of voice. So it's not an interrogation, and tell them that you're not giving directions, you're gonna ask questions and want them to engage in this dialogue, because sometimes people get upset when you ask them too many questions. So that's my my little note here to alert people that you're gonna be asking questions and to watch your tone of voice. Other things that a manager can use to be an effective coach is using empowering language. And some of this empowering language, some examples are, you can, like the inspiration, the belief that they can, you choose, and yes, and instead of saying no. So if you hear what they're saying, yes, I hear you, and you add what you think is needed. You can ask what you think and what will you do differently. And these are the advised empowering positive language. Language to avoid is you have to do this, like you probably seen, you have to do this by the end of the day today. You have to do this by the end of the week, which is very obviously annoying and triggers people to go into a negative way of thinking. So you have to, you should, and then avoid using no, but, and however. These, you can say something very good, but then you say but or however, and it negates all the positive things that you said. I know I'm guilty of it myself. These are common words in my vocabulary, and I really focus and work hard on avoiding them as much as possible. Here is another technique that we recommend using to show empathy. So showing empathy is a way of getting closer to the person in front of you and showing that you really want to coach them, not there to boss them around or give orders. So there is a nice acronym, SAVE, S-A-V-E, that you can walk through. You don't have to use it all in one session, but you can use as you see fit. So show support, show your understanding, acknowledge what the person is sharing with you, acknowledge that it is difficult. If somebody's going through a situation at home, have a sick parent or a sick child, acknowledge that it is a difficult time for them. Validate their feelings, like you can say, you're not alone, myself, others, if this would happen to us, we would be upset or frustrated. So normalize the feelings so people would not feel like they are, not in the mainstream, so always tell them that they are not alone and you understand them. And then you can also use emotion naming. I personally take this into consideration, not always, because sometimes people resist. Like you can say, I see you're angry, and they will say, no, I'm not angry, but you can tell they are angry. So be careful with that. But if you feel it's right, you say, I feel you're sad or you're frustrated or angry, and let them talk more about it. This is like giving them the green light to talk more about their feelings. So that's some practical ways of showing that you're empathetic and caring. How to help your staff or coachee, in this case we use sometimes the word coachee, the person you're coaching, get unstuck, because sometimes people get so focused and cannot see other solutions. So this is some practical questions to kind of help people open up their minds, see the frames of the box, and then see outside the box. So you ask, what if this changed? What if this situation? So it might feel a little, you want to use some imagination, but you're helping them think about it. So what if, and removing the limiting assumption. What if you can actually find a babysitter for the kids and it's not a problem? And play out different scenarios using this what if. What if you can exercise every day, like carve out time to go to the gym, and let them think about it. What else also opens up the possibilities, like expand the options. With what else, I also ask who else, because sometimes we just need to find the right person who can help us. So what else or who else to remove these boundaries and expand option. And then guide and help your coachee or staff member to visualize what it's like to be successful. And here you can even take them back, how was it a couple of years ago when you were leading this team and you achieved these big results? What did you do? And take them back to thinking of the time when they were successful and on the top of their game, and help them relive that experience. And they can also visualize and embrace a role model. Like, if this person that I admire is doing that, can I do that? Can I talk in this way? Can I present myself that way? So these are some techniques. You don't have to use them all, but as you see fit in the unique situation you're in, you can use any of them to help people get unstuck. We are getting close to the end of our time, and I want to share 2 case studies of people I worked with closely. I was the coach and kind of in a manager role once, and we applied these techniques in the coach approach and help them really get unstuck and move forward with their lives and achieve their goals. So Jennifer was a person that worked with me on a few projects I've done in 2015 and 2016. And she was amazing. I could tell from the first time I met her that she was very motivated and had lots of capabilities, much more than her current role. And I kind of latched onto her because I needed her skills. She had some unique skills that I needed on that project, and she shined. I could see she was just taking, the assignments and running with them. So I decided that I want to work closer with her and see how can I help her, because she was helping me personally on the project. It was a big project with lots of gaps in staffing. And she wanted to grow her career and she wanted to get her master's degree, but we got into that a little later. She wasn't initially sure that she can commit to studying and going to school, and if her manager, her direct manager or line manager, would allow her to have some time, have flexible schedules so she can study. But we worked on that, and she managed to actually convince her manager, and the manager was supportive, allowed her to work flex hours. She went to school and she worked hard for like 3 years. She found the school that fit her needs, and she did her master's, and she was very happy. Just to get the master's in itself was a dream come true. But she's then got the position she was aspiring for, and actually got also better pay. So overall, Jennifer was a great success, and we still connect, and we always remember these good times and working to achieve her goals. Brad was a person that I worked with on some of my projects, and he was the IT director in a relatively small organization. But he was new to that organization. So he was like, I know I can do more. The IT director is not giving me all the capabilities I'm looking for. And I want to become the CIO. I know I can do that. So it's like, okay, how can you take your role from an IT director, which is a great position to start with, but make it more and get higher? How can you convince the person who hired you that you can do more? And in his case, it was really getting out of the box that he was in and doing stretch goals, showing his manager that he can do more and he really cares about the organization and he has the capabilities to do more. A couple of years passed and I met Brad in a conference, and he was the CIO of that organization, and he was very, very happy with his life, and he worked as a CIO for a few years there. After that, got another CIO position in a bigger organization with much better pay and benefits. And he's like on the cloud, like he's really, really enjoying his life and very appreciative to the coaching and the idea of stretch goal. I know when I told him stretch goal initially, he didn't know what a stretch goal is. Like, what are you talking about? But it is a common expression in management, and it's like really pushing yourself a little bit outside the boundaries to show your skills and talents. So encourage your staff to do that. Encourage your people to push themselves to go a little bit out of their comfort zone and do more. We are offering a leadership academy, and I will wrap up with that. It is a coaching program for 6 months. We're going to meet every other week. There are 12 sessions, 50 minutes each, and we will talk about a broad array of managerial leadership and coaching approaches to help leaders get to the next level. Some of the things we will cover is obviously starting with an assessment to areas of strength. The DISC assessment helps with personality and how you interact with others. And then a SWOT analysis, which is knowing your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And identifying goals and clarity on values, what you really want in life, your non-negotiables. And then we'll go into the different leadership and management styles. Emotional intelligence, which tags into self-awareness, being aware of how you come across, how you present yourself, and being aware of others. Team building and teaming, we cannot work without being in teams, so that's going to be a module. Project planning and strategic planning and change management. These are key criteria to be successful in management today. And then working on executive presence, communication, building relationships, mind mastery and peak state or peak performance, being visible, so letting people know who you are, your brand, what you stand for. And then we'll have some special topic, and a topic very close to my heart, on women's issues. We will have a whole program for women in leadership, but also tagging to that is the diversity, equity, and inclusion at work, and how you can allow people to grow and get higher, and not being too worried about skin color, different nationality or backgrounds, and allowing people to get to their full potential. So that's the program we have. I will post on LinkedIn more details about this program and the dates when we will start. But I want to wrap with that and see if there are any other questions or any comments that anyone would like to share.
Very good session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hela.
Yes, I agree.
Omar.
This was a very good session. Couple of questions, but seeing that we are over time, I will reach out and ask them through chat. So thank you.
Yeah, no, but go ahead. If you have time, I can wait a few minutes. If you want to ask something now, please go ahead.
Yeah, one big question is we focus, or you're focusing on the side of us as, I guess, us as managers. But what if I'm the one who's actually the employee, and my manager's style is not what you're describing? How can I lead to this manager adopting this and probably having a more open type of discussion in which we can both see improvement rather than the chastising?
I love your question. There are a couple of things. Like one approach is, they call it mentoring up and mentoring down. And it's popular these days because the workforce is so blended. There are senior colleagues and junior colleagues. Senior may know the process very well and the subject matter, but the junior may know, say, technology very well, and they are very agile in changing their processes and using devices and new technology. So there is a new way of thinking where people can influence each other. You're obviously here hoping that your manager is open to be influenced and is appreciating what you bring to the table. You want to also employ, like a good communication skills, good communication techniques. So you're bringing things up in a positive way with the goal of getting better in the future, doing things better. You can also share, like sharing articles, sharing, podcasts, YouTube videos. There is so much great content out there. So you can introduce some of your ideas on how things can be better through media, like showing him or her examples from a YouTube or an HBR article or anything like that.
Okay.
Does this help?
In a way, but I think that this probably it would lead to deeper discussion and most likely a coaching session. So
Yeah,
like it's to give you a little bit more background, this manager,
let's do that one-on-one. Omar, let's do that one-on-one.
Sure.
So we don't take everybody's time. But I
Yes,
definitely would love to work with you. Reach out, on LinkedIn, and I we can schedule time to talk about it one-on-one.
Perfect.
Okay?
I would love that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Hela. Thank you, Adoni.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Laura.